All right, more on this now with Jamil Jaffer, the founder and executive director of the National Security Institute. So, Jamil, things seem to be going according to plan today. I want to know what that tells you. And also, again, parsing out the words from the president here, really making a point to say that he's intimately involved in working on a two-state solution in the wake of the war. What does all of that say to you?
Well, obviously, Arthel, a huge sigh of relief here in the United States and in Israel for these continued release of these hostages, obviously coming at a huge cost because of the numbers being traded and the price that these hostages have paid in custody for now coming up on a month and a half. But good news in the sense that they're now back in the area. President Biden and the Qataris, the White House working closely with Qatar and the governments there in the region and Hamas and the Israeli government to try and figure out a path forward. So slow progress, but progress nonetheless.
And part of the path forward, the immediate path forward, is perhaps extending this 4-day truce. We know that President or Prime Minister Netanyahu has vowed to retaliate, continue to retaliate against Hamas. It seems that he's eager to resume the fighting. Do you think President Biden can convince Prime Minister to continue to extend this truce to get the hostages released?
You know, I think this is one of the challenges, Arthel. Prime Minister Netanyahu obviously looking to take out Hamas, destroy their leadership structure, and remove their capability to conduct another attack like this. At the same time, he wants those hostages out as well. He knows that he's going to have to do something of a deal to get those hostages out. And so a pause in the fighting, if hostages continue to be exchanged, probably makes sense. But of course, he also knows that as this pause takes place, Hamas is likely to be building up its capability and once again looking to push back against Israel. That's the real challenge for Prime Minister Netanyahu in trying to get these hostages out while also prosecuting what is very clearly the right thing to do against Hamas and take those terrorists who conducted that attack out.
Yeah, and those terrorists see the hostages as currency. American hostages hold more value. You've got 3 American citizens free today, thankfully. We know for sure little Abigail Edan, one of them. How soon would you expect the other 8 or so American hostages to be released?
Well, Arthur, I think you're exactly right. I think that Hamas sees not only the hostages as currency, but they see the Palestinian people as currency as well. They know that for every Palestinian woman or child killed in the Israeli response, that harms Israel and benefits Hamas. That's why they're using human shields. And so they're going to hold on to these hostages as long as they can, particularly the Americans, because they recognize having America involved puts pressure on Israel. So Hamas is engaged in a very clear effort, not just to kill civilians, but to kill their own civilians and have them pay the price for their bad acts.
And to kill their own civilians, which is the message that a lot of the protesters are not getting. Meanwhile, though, did you tell me you believe that there will be an extension to this truce, Jamil?
Well, I'm hopeful, obviously, that there's an extension in the sense that will mean that hostages are continuing to be released by Hamas into Israeli custody and into the hands of the U.S., ideally more Americans as well, and other international hostages. But, look, at the end of the day, we've got to get all those hostages out, and then Israel's got to be able to take out Hamas. That's going to be part of this deal. There is going to be no ceasefire where Hamas is not destroyed or gives up its capabilities.
Meanwhile, on deck, Hezbollah, the terrorists in Lebanon, the Houthi rebels in Yemen, and Iran calling the plays while unveiling a hypersonic missile, of course, dubbed Fatah 2. Tehran claims the missile can fly 15 times faster than the speed of light, and it can defeat Israel's Iron Dome defenses. So, first of all, is Iran bluffing, Jamil? And who can stop Iran from expanding this war across the Middle East, and how do they do it?
Well, look, one of the challenges with Iran is that they have not yet been deterred by American action. We've seen now over nearly 6 dozen attacks injuring Americans in the region, in Iraq and Syria. We've pushed back gently by conducting attacks against fuel depots and weapons depots. We need to take out senior Iranian leadership the same way that President Trump did with the IRGC Quds Force commander Qasem Soleimani. The only way that Iran is going to learn the lesson of not allowing the Houthi rebels to attack Americans, not allowing groups like Ansar al-Haq and Kataib Hezbollah, is going to be a direct response against Iran. They haven't been made to pay the price. It's important that we extract a price from Iran. Otherwise, we'll see this continued attacks on Americans and our allies in Israel.
Does President Biden have the will to take out the very leadership that you're saying needs to be taken out?
Well, we haven't seen it yet. We have seen a response. We've seen at least 4 American attacks against supplies and capabilities there of Iranian proxies. But the Iranians don't care about their proxies. It's why they put them out there to attack Americans. We need to respond against Iran directly. The challenge is the Biden administration still thinks wrongly that they can deal with Iran and negotiate a solution. That is not something that Iran is willing to do or capable of doing. We need to punch back and hard.
We will watch and see what happens. Jamil Jaffer, as always, good to see you. Good to have your expertise. You're with the National Security Institute. Thanks, Jamil.
Thanks, Arthel.